Jalen Brunson has been one of the most heavily used players in the NBA since he arrived in New York back in 2022. Season after season, the Knicks' franchise player has carried an enormous offensive load, routinely topping the league in average time of possession. But heading into the 2026-27 campaign, the team's first as defending NBA champions, something meaningful has shifted, and the Knicks didn't spend a single dollar of cap space or give up a single asset to make it happen. Hey, what's up everyone? Before we jump into everything today, that like button right there is what decides if this video hits hundreds or thousands of people. 1 second is all it takes, but the impact on this channel is massive. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. Seriously, it's the simplest thing you can do, and honestly, the best way to back this content up because every single like pushes this further, so hit it now. The answer was already on the roster. His name is Karl Anthony Towns. For years, the idea of Towns serving as a genuine offensive initiator felt more like a theoretical upside than a practical reality. He was a dominant scorer and an elite floor spacer, but the bulk of New York's offensive decision-making still flowed through Brunson. That started to change late in the 2025-26 playoffs, and the results were impossible to ignore. Midway through the first round of the postseason, Towns approached head coach Mike Brown with a request. Give me more responsibility running the offense. Brown agreed without hesitation. The Knicks began filtering more touches and time of possession through their starting center, and Brunson's on-ball burden dropped noticeably as a direct result. It was a tactical evolution that had been brewing throughout the regular season under Brown's system, but it needed the intensity of the playoffs to fully take shape. The data backs it up clearly. Brunson still ranked second in the entire postseason in self-created true shooting attempts per 100 possessions, trailing only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but his volume of 18.7 was the lowest it has been in any playoff run since he joined the Knicks. That is not a coincidence. That is Towns absorbing a genuine portion of the offensive load and allowing Brunson to operate in less taxing situations. What made the shift even more valuable was where Brunson's scoring came from when he wasn't forced to create off the dribble. He became more active as a spacer, attacking off handoffs, moving without the ball, and converting shots coming off screens at a higher rate than in any previous postseason. His true shooting attempts per 100 possessions in those off-ball situations reached 7.2 during last year's playoff run. That marks a 38% jump over the 2025 postseason figure of 5.2, an 11% improvement over 2024's mark of 6.5, and a 26% increase compared to the 5.7 he posted back in 2023. Each of those percentage jumps tells the same story. Brunson is becoming a more complete offensive weapon precisely because he is not being asked to do absolutely everything from the moment he touches the ball. The more his teammates can create, the more dangerous Brunson becomes when he does attack. To be fair, head coach Mike Brown's broader offensive philosophy deserves a significant share of the credit. Brown has made it a consistent priority to deploy Brunson in multiple situations throughout the regular season, actively working to dispel the assumption that the Knicks' star is only effective as an isolation-heavy one-on-one creator. That work at the regular season level built the foundation, but the playoff adjustment with Towns accelerated that development and gave New York a clear and repeatable blueprint heading into the 2026-27 season. There is also a practical logistical reality worth addressing. Towns spent roughly 39% of his minutes last season on the floor without Brunson. That separation rate is already near its ceiling. The Knicks want their two best players working together as much as possible, not apart. Pushing their shared minutes down further is not a viable path forward, but that is fine because the solution was never about separating them. It is about what Towns can do alongside Brunson to give his teammate room to breathe. The playoff assist numbers make that point with precision. During their shared minutes in the postseason, Towns averaged 8 assists per 100 possessions. That figure is nearly double his 4.8 rate during their paired regular season minutes. That leap is not a small statistical footnote. It represents Towns functioning as a real offensive hub, not just a scorer demanding the ball, but a creator generating opportunities for others. Brunson and Towns already rank among the 5 most efficient two-man combinations in the entire league. Adding this new dynamic layer to their partnership makes them even harder to defend. For a guard who has led the NBA in average time of possession in 3 of the last 4 seasons, even a moderate reduction in on-ball responsibility carries outsized weight. Every possession Brunson spends moving off the ball rather than manufacturing a difficult shot from nothing is a possession that preserves his legs, his sharpness, and his capacity to make the right decision late in a close game. Over the course of a full regular season, and then another deep postseason run, that preservation accumulates into something genuinely significant for both the player and the team. The New York Knicks just won the NBA championship. They did it with Jalen Brunson as their engine and Karl Anthony Towns as their most indispensable co-star. Now, with the offseason in full swing and financial reality pressing in from every direction, the organization faces one of the most consequential decisions it has made in years. But despite the complications of second apron rules, salary cap math, and a roster that needs depth, the core of this decision is not actually that complicated. Keep Karl Anthony Towns. Do whatever it takes. Towns is under contract through the current season and holds a player option for 2027-28. But in practical terms, a new long-term extension needs to happen before he ever reaches that player option. By the time that decision arrives, Towns will almost certainly want a new deal already secured, one that reflects his value as a championship-winning center who has elevated every facet of his game over the past 2 seasons. The franchise has already established its financial hierarchy. Brunson is the face of the Knicks, the undisputed star around whom everything is built. Paying him was never in question, and it still isn't. Towns occupies the next tier. He is not at quite the same level of irreplaceability as Brunson, but he is as close to it as any player on the roster. Letting him walk would not just create a positional gap, it would dismantle the offensive partnership that powered a championship. That partnership matters more now than ever. The Knicks' frontcourt situation has become increasingly fragile following the departure of Mitchell Robinson to the Boston Celtics and the exit of Ariel Hukporti. The center depth behind Towns is currently thin at best. Losing Towns himself even a year or two down the road would not simply be a roster setback. It would be a structural crisis for a team that just proved its combination of guard play and frontcourt skill can compete at the highest level. The financial math is genuinely difficult. The Knicks are operating close to the second apron, and a maximum contract for Towns would push their payroll into territory that carries serious league-imposed restrictions. Trading players becomes harder. Signing free agents through standard means becomes nearly impossible. Every dollar spent on Towns is a dollar that cannot easily be used to address depth elsewhere on the roster. But this is precisely why the Knicks need to be creative about structure, not about whether to pay Towns at all. The front office has shown it can navigate complex salary situations. Brunson himself accepted a contract slightly below his market value to give the team more flexibility, and there is at least the possibility that Towns might be open to a similar approach. Even a small concession on his end would give New York meaningful additional room to fill out the roster around its 2 stars. The alternative, allowing Towns to approach the open market with uncertainty hanging over his future in New York, is a risk the Knicks cannot afford to take. Other teams around the league would move aggressively to acquire a player of his caliber. A 7-footer who can shoot from anywhere on the floor, initiate offense from the high post, and now facilitate for teammates at an elite level is not the kind of player who sits quietly in free agency waiting for his preferred team to get organized. Towns' evolution as a playmaker has only added to his value. As explored separately, his assist rate alongside Brunson nearly doubled from the regular season to the playoffs, demonstrating a new dimension to his game that makes him substantially harder to replace. He is not just the team's second scorer, he is a genuine decision maker who can operate the offense independently when Brunson needs a rest. The Knicks' second apron constraints will force difficult choices over the next several seasons. Role players will be harder to retain. Trade options will narrow. Every roster decision will carry heightened consequences. But none of that changes the fundamental logic of this situation. You do not let the player who helped you win a championship walk out the door. Because the financial picture is uncomfortable, lock up Brunson and Towns. Build the rest of the team around that foundation. That is the path forward for the defending champions. Beyond the basketball logic, there is also a cultural and historical argument for committing to Towns. New York has spent decades being a team where stars did not want to stay. A franchise with resources but without rings, without identity, without consistency. The 2025-26 championship changed that narrative. Keeping Towns at whatever financial cost is feasible reinforces the message that New York is now a place where elite players are valued and retained. Letting him go would threaten to unravel that hard-earned reputation at exactly the wrong moment. The Knicks built something real this past season. The chemistry between Towns and Brunson, the trust developed within Mike Brown's system, the confidence that comes from winning it all. Those things cannot be replicated by going out and signing replacement parts. They have to be protected and extended. Paying Karl Anthony Towns is not just a basketball decision. It is a statement about what kind of franchise the Knicks intend to be going forward. The New York Knicks had a productive offseason by most measures. They entered the summer as NBA champions and have taken steps to protect that core. But one problem has persisted through all of it. The team's front court depth behind Karl Anthony Towns remains dangerously thin. With Mitchell Robinson gone to the Boston Celtics and Ariel Hukporti no longer on the roster, the Knicks need a legitimate third big man, someone who can provide emergency minutes without the team falling apart defensively or on the glass. Here are 7 names that deserve serious consideration. Nick Richards. The most discussed name on this list is also the most logical fit. Richards is a New York native who has been connected to the Knicks in trade conversations for multiple seasons, though a deal never came together. Now he enters free agency as a 28-year-old capable of producing double-digit points and rebounds on consistent minutes. He had a quieter season in 2025-26 than in previous years, but the ceiling remains intact. Playing for a championship team in his home market could be exactly the motivation he needs to rediscover his best form. The Knicks have the roster profile and the winning environment to make that pitch compelling. Bismack Biyombo. At this stage of the offseason, finding a high-impact free agent is unrealistic. The market has largely dried up, and the players still available reflect that. What New York realistically needs is a veteran who adds locker room value and can hold the line physically if Towns or Andre Drummond goes down. Biyombo fits that profile precisely. The former lottery pick has always been a reliable rebounder and rim protector. He will not score, he will not stretch the floor, but he will compete, communicate, and protect the paint when called upon. For a minimum contract, that has real value for a contending team. Goga Bitadze. The most interesting trade option on this list may be Goga Bitadze of the Orlando Magic. The 27-year-old Georgian big man is a capable offensive rebounder and shot blocker who averaged close to 1.5 blocks per night in just 20 minutes of action during the 2024-25 season. The Knicks have reportedly been active on the trade market searching for front court depth, and multiple reports suggest that Miles McBride is available in those conversations as a cost-cutting mechanism under second apron rules. Orlando could have interest in a guard like McBride, which would make Bitadze an appealing return piece for New York, a young, physical big who fills a specific and immediate need. Kevin Love. There is no hiding the obvious. Kevin Love is no longer the player he was in his prime. The 38-year-old does not move well enough defensively to anchor a playoff rotation at this point in his career. But Love brings something the Knicks desperately lack behind Towns: the ability to space the floor from the 4 or 5 spot. He shot 37% from three-point range last season, and in an era where switchable, versatile bigs are essential, a warm-body rebounder who can also drain an open corner 3 is more valuable than his age suggests. Off the bench, in limited minutes, Love could be a genuine asset for a team that already has its defensive foundation in place. Nicholas Batum is not a traditional center, but in today's NBA, that distinction matters less than it used to. The 18-year league veteran can function effectively as a small ball power forward, bringing two-way versatility and floor spacing that few players at his position can match. He shot 40% from three-point range this past season, a number that would make him one of the better shooting bigs on New York's roster. Beyond the offense, Batum's ability to guard multiple positions gives Coach Mike Brown additional defensive flexibility, and his experience in high-stakes playoff basketball would be a genuine asset in a Knicks locker room that is still building its championship culture. Jalen Smith. The most underrated name on this list is Jalen Smith of the Chicago Bulls. The 26-year-old had arguably his best professional season in 2025-26, averaging 10 points, 7 rebounds, and a block per game in 20 minutes of action. Those numbers, produced efficiently off the bench, represent exactly the kind of cost-controlled, high-effort production the Knicks need behind their starters. If Chicago has genuine interest in McBride, and there is reason to believe they might, Smith would be a logical centerpiece of a deal that helps both teams. He has the athleticism and the motor to compete for the backup center role immediately. Isaiah Jackson. Finally, the most raw but potentially highest upside option, Isaiah Jackson of the Los Angeles Clippers. The former first-round pick is a physical presence who excels in 2 specific areas: offensive rebounding and shot blocking. He is not going to create his own shot or demand the ball in the post, but he does the foundational big man things at a high level and brings legitimate defensive energy. For a team like New York that already has its offensive architecture in place, adding a big who can change shots and clean up the glass without needing the ball is a sensible, efficient addition.